You're watching MMA Oddsbreaker. I'm Frank Trigg. That is Rick Hawn, the judo Olympian. And let's be honest, Rick, you're kind of on a tear right now. Since that loss to Michael Chandler, knocked out Carl Parisian, an easy unanimous decision over Herman Torello and Brent Weidman. Not as easy as a decision, but very decisive. I mean, you controlled the entire pace. It just wasn't as easy looking from on my side of the TV set. You're kind of finding your own pace and pattern with the rest of the game. Like, you're obviously a great thrower, a great grappler, but you're finding your pattern and rhythm as far as cardio goes within the fight game, and you're finding your striking. What has been the biggest difference in your striking game that you believe? Is it your speed? Is it your power? Is it finally your confidence? Like, which way is it?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I'm starting to find some rhythm with my striking and my angles. I'm working with a boxing coach, Olympic boxing coach up in Montreal, Hercules Cavellos. Really sharpen my game. Working with kickboxing coach, Conrad Plaw. So working a lot of my striking. And the last fight with Weidman was really when I kind of opened up. I think when I was more aggressive than I ever have in any of my past fights. Because I was fighting someone who was a good striker and tough, and I really needed to set the tone, I guess. So that for me was like my best moment of striking. I was really able to put combos together and kind of dictate the fight.
It's starting to show a little bit that your confidence from your years and years and years of training judo and realizing if you spend enough time on a particular task, you're going to learn it. Because you did that with judo and spent so much time learning judo that now it's second nature. Do you still spend a lot of time with a gi on and going back to just regular judo and learning throws, or not learning, but keeping up that game of really being hard with a gi on as far as judo goes?
I wish I had more time too. You kind of in the off season, in between the fights, I'll try to go back to train at Jimmy Pedro's gym. But it's so tough when I'm trying to work on everything else, like my striking and my wrestling. And it's just when I go really hard with those guys, some of the Olympic team guys, it's really hard on my body. It's a rough sport, as you know. And for some reason, MMA and training for everything else doesn't beat me up as much, I guess. So
that's one of the things that I've always kind of said is that if you put somebody in like a judo practice or a real collegiate world team wrestling practice, that these guys are going to get, even though they're great MMA guys, they're just going to get beat up and get the crap kicked out of them because it's such a tough, especially with 8 pounds of fabric on you and guys grabbing a hold of it and slowing it down, and all of a sudden you're in the air and you're floating and you have no idea where you're going to go and how you're going to land, and all of a sudden you're on your forehead. It's just like, I see a lot more guys get beat up in judo and in hard style of wrestling than ever practicing in MMA. Is that the reason why more judo guys haven't made the jump into MMA like we have seen with the wrestling guys?
I'm not sure. I kind of wondered that myself. I think we're starting to see more judo people kind of make the transition over. I think we will see more in the future. We have good people representing the sport, especially on the women's side. Ronda Rousey and other big names out there. Hector Lombard, another Olympian. It's coming along. It's getting more popular, and of course I'm out there a little bit too. So hope to see the transition more. But yeah, getting back to how rough it is, it's when I go back to training, obviously, I can't go light or take it easy. So I go balls out, and, after not training for so long and jumping back in, it hurts.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's a different kind of feel, and your neck gets beat up and your fingers are getting jammed up from grabbing onto the fabric and the seams, and just trying to find that pace. If it's not something you're doing all day, every day, it's really hard to get back into it. But do you notice the same thing when you go back into, like, say you take 2 weeks or 3 weeks off of boxing? Do you notice that same thing when you go back in? Because it's newer to you, that it is difficult to kind of get your shoulders back to feeling it and gripping inside that glove and gripping the wraps and getting your forearms back to that strength. You kind of feel that when you first, after taking a break with boxing, you feel that same kind of oh crap, this practice is going to hurt kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after every fight, you take a couple weeks off or a month off and you go back into it and you're like, I'm completely out of shape. This sucks. Why did I take time off? But, you have to. Your body has to recover. Your mind has to get a break. But, the first week, the first month, whatever, always sucks getting back in shape. And it's just part of the process.
Right. Okay, let's talk about Ron Keslar. He's your opponent. You're 17-2. He's 11-3, so record-wise, it's very close.
Yeah.
How do you see this fight breaking down, and how do you see What does he bring that makes him the most dangerous as a fighter?
Well, he comes from a very good camp. They have very good coaches there. He has great grapplers that he trained with, Koscheck and Fitch. And that's, I think, primarily most of his game is a wrestling-based jiu-jitsu style. Haven't seen much video of him striking. I wouldn't think that he would want to stand and strike with me too much. He seems, his last couple of fights, he's, just wants to get to the ground, kind of clinch up with the guys and use his size and his leverage. So I'm expecting that, and, I'm well prepared for that. And, he's a big guy. Obviously I'm a real lightweight. I'm not a welterweight, so to speak, anymore. But, I'll use my speed and my quickness to get around, I guess, some of his length and his weight, maybe.
I kind of see this matchup as the classic judo MMA guy, not the classic judo versus wrestler, but the classic judo MMA guy versus the classic wrestler MMA guy, where both guys are very proficient in all aspects of the game. But obviously, the game that got you both at the table is wrestling and judo. Obviously, you're a better judo player than he was a wrestler because obviously you made the Olympic team and Keslar didn't. So it's one of those situations. Do you kind of see that breaking down that way too? And was that if you do see it that way, was that part of your training camp mindset? Is like, hey, telling the guys up at TriStar, letting Faraz know, and letting Faraz know, and letting everybody else know, all your coaches, hey, this is a wrestler, he's going to shoot on me, so let's change up how we're boxing, or change up how we're grappling. Was any of that in the process?
Absolutely. Faraz is a master at a game plan and putting strategy together. It's the same thing with this fight. Knowing my really only major loss is from a wrestler. So they're going to look at that and, try to exploit that. And, I'm fully aware of that and expecting that and well prepared.
So how is it up there in TriStar with GSP's win, but personal issues going on? How's it been? Like, is there been any tension or any change in the camp at all? Or has it just been kind of like, okay, well, that's GSP's thing. He's got to handle that, and we got our own stuff to deal with?
I left to come back home to Boston the day after the fight, and all that stuff kind of got released or out there a couple days after. So
it all got rumored out there by whoever, and no one's got any positive proof yet of anything at this point, other than the sister saying there's nothing wrong with the dad. Dad's not sick. That's the only thing that's come out. So.
Yeah, well, which is good, but before that, I didn't hear anything. Everything. He was just getting focused for his training camp and had a great camp and a very tough fight and a close fight, but it was a great fight.
Did you see the fight?
I did. It was an amazing fight.
Who do you think won? Do you think he won it?
I think if you really look at the fight and break it down round per round, I think George won that. What
rounds? Do you remember what rounds you gave him? I know it's tough because you weren't thinking about it, but
yeah, I believe 1, 3, and 5 possibly.
See, I gave Johnny 1, 2, and 4. So everybody agrees 3 and 5 are George's, 2 and 4 are Johnny's, and then we argue over round 1. And that's basically what everyone is at. Is like, hey, it's round 1. And to be honest with you, I've watched it 5 times, and I've changed my opinion 5 times. It's just like every time I watch, it's like, oh, okay, it's a different round. It's very difficult.
I have yet to watch it again, so I want to watch it again and kind of dissect it more, because when you're just watching the first time, you're kind of into it too much to really think about it as like a judge.
I was with a bunch of Canadians that are big fans at the fights, and they're big fans of GSP, and they were like, no, it's 4-1. The only round of GSP won is the 5th. It was 4-1 Johnny. And then when it came out, they were like, oh my gosh, we're so happy, but it's such a robbery. And I was like, well, let's hold on a second. Let's talk about this for a minute. And they were like, yeah, you're right. GSP won 1, 3, and 5. And I was like, well, no, he won 3 and 5. And then we started arguing about round 1 again. And I picked Johnny the entire time. Now remember, I trained Johnny when he was a younger kid. I saw him grow up from a young 8-year-old all the way through to the national champion he became in Oklahoma State. And then I trained with him as an MMA fighter and as a man here in Vegas before he left. So I'm probably kind of homering when it comes to Johnny. But you look at that first round, and it really is tough to call. And you understand why the judges get booed and yelled at so much, because I changed my mind 5 times and I know what I'm looking at. The judges have the time to know what they're looking at. Do the judges scare you now in MMA for the way they call fights sometimes?
It just goes to that old saying, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. I lost a very close fight against Jay Huron. Obviously not even close to what it was at stake, but you leave it, you have close like that, and it could, most people thought that I won, but I didn't get the nod.
Well, let's be honest. Every fight now in MMA counts because it goes on your win-loss record, and that's potential for income from sponsors and TV deals and marketability, especially in Bellator. If they're going to push you to the red carpet of something, you got to have a great win-loss record. So now every win and every loss counts, unless you're a Chael Sonnen, where you can talk your way into a fight whether you win or lose. Doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. That's not me, though, so that's not going to happen.
All right, Rick, thanks for coming out here, MMA Oddsbreaker. I know it's been a rough day for you, a lot of traffic, a lot of getting around. I appreciate you coming in, and we'll talk to you soon. Good luck on your next fight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.